it wasn't too long ago that it wasn't niche, but it wasn't as big as it is today, and I think that's just getting bigger. How it fits into culture at large, I just think people are going to keep making more games that people, like better games that people can invest with and relate to. That in turn will just make them want to play it more and take the industry and video games more seriously than maybe even a few years ago.
I think gaming is culture. You know, I think you can't separate the two. I mean, games are stories told by people who have their own culture, and it's impossible to not impart your own culture into those ideas and into those products. So I would say gaming is culture.
I do think games are becoming more mainstream. I think our young generation of kids gravitate towards games. There's a natural allure and excitement to games, and I think therefore what we put into these games are having an impact on people. Like, this younger generation is growing into the generation that will be tomorrow. Therefore, I think it's important for us. I think I would go so far as to say we even have an obligation to ensure that the values we're portraying in these games are such that these kids who are molded by these experiences, we need to be mindful of that. And I also think we may as well be putting in good values in these games so that we can raise a generation of kids raised on these video games, right?
I think it's part of our fabric now. I think it plays a role in how people socialise, how people, I guess, get together. Again, that's in 75% of Kiwis' houses. Everyone's probably got access to a device, so I think it's going to have a significant role on influence on culture. I think it already does, and we're just not aware of it. I think more people play games now than they probably watch TV or sport. So I think it's quite significant. I don't think we just quite understand or realise the impact it does have.
I'd like to see gaming grow more within New Zealand society. Something that's a little bit concerning to me, as someone that's sort of involved in gaming at an operational level, is the fact that we could be potentially losing our gaming industry to Australia with their sort of tax relief that they've been giving to some studios. And I think it would be amazing if the New Zealand government did something similar towards that, where we get the government to see the benefits and the money that can be brought to our country.
Yeah, I mean, it's always been a problem with New Zealand economics that we train up people to have a huge amount of skills, and then we can't actually afford to keep them around. The opportunity cost of moving to other places is so much stronger, where there's more of a culture of having those large organisations present. So yeah, it can be quite frustrating to be in the games industry in New Zealand. That definitely can change, but there's political realities and economic realities around that. Often it is the sensible choice to move overseas when the opportunity cost is that high. So I guess it really comes down to whether New Zealanders value having the gaming industry as part of their identity, and currently it seems that that's not the case. I mean, to be in gaming is sometimes a pejorative. Is it really seen as a valued part of New Zealand culture? I wonder about that.
15 years ago, I feel quite confident in saying that video games especially aren't considered to be a part of the social fabric. I don't see sport or board games as being much different from video games in many ways. I think the stigma of video games being this thing that kind of nerds do in the basement, it's starting to go away. I see them as being like painting a sculpture or a sport, or either playing or spectating. I really don't see it as being. I don't separate games from society, and so to me, game as a verb is just a part of life, and games are just sparks that help light that part of the fire, really.
I'm really hoping that video games will be accepted more as the art form that it is. Coming from classical music composition myself, it's so cool, the potential of just synthesis between mediums, and so I'm looking forward to that in that kind of domain. I can't wait to see what video games do.